Hello Year 10, welcome to video 3. This is where I'm going to go through how to use that equation that I've given you. So just to recap, I've told you about what I was going to do this lesson. In the last video I went through what a mole was. I said that 1 mole of a substance, of a compound, is the same as its relative formula mass. So 1 mole of iron chloride, which is our example, will be 162.5 grams. Now, the next thing I talked about was the moles, mass, and MR. Now, remember that mass is squishing Mr. Moles, and you'll never get that muddled up because mass is really heavy and it's going to fall on him. And that is the best way that I could think of to remember that. If you do have any better ideas, then email me them because I'd love to know how you use that equation or whether you do just remember that. Now, here are the examples I'm going to go through. I'm going to leave them all up. I haven't blocked any out this time. I'm just going to talk you through them. So follow what I'm saying, think about what I'm saying. In the exam, for paper 1, and I'm going to make this really clear, the only equation you really need to know is your moles, mass and MR. Now on the year 11 mock exams, there was one question that was 12 marks. And it started with working out formula mass, and then it went all the way through to using the moles, mass and MR equation for 12 marks. So it's really, really vital you learn it. So example 1 is looking at the mass. So if you have a mass of 3.5 moles of methane, oh, didn't say that right. What is the mass of 3.5 moles of methane? Now, they've given you the relative formula mass because we've got it here. So you can quickly work that out because carbon's 12 and hydrogen's 1. If you add 4 hydrogens to carbon, you get 16. So quite nicely, these examples have the MR there for you. Now, when you get the questions, they might not necessarily do that. So just make sure that you are aware of that. Now, to work out the mass, we go back to our equation, or we rearrange it in our mind, and we insert the MR here, so 16, and we times it by the moles, which is 3.5 because we're told, and we get 56 grams. And it's as simple as that. It's just like using an equation in maths where you put the different numbers in, you get the answer. Simple as that. Now, how many moles are in 348 grams of aluminium oxide? Again, you're given the MR. This time you're looking for the moles. Moles equals mass divided by MR. Put your numbers in. So there's your mass because it must be the mass because it's in grams. Divided by your MR, 102, gives you 3.41 moles. So a question that looks pretty scary can just be solved by putting the numbers into that equation that we've been talking about. Lastly, what is the MR of 2 moles of a compound that weighs 204 grams? So first off, we need to do the MR. We can get the equation. Then we can take a step back and say, right, what if we got the mass? We'll have it's 204 grams. We've got the moles there. It's 2 moles. If we divide 204 by 2, we get 102 grams per mole. Now, if you were paying attention, it's got to be aluminium oxide because the MR of aluminium oxide is 102. Now, on the next page, it gets a little more complicated. There is a video on the slide afterwards that goes into more detail about the power of 10. Now, you will have done this in your maths lessons. Certainly by year 10, you will have done this. So it is just using those in the equations as well, or using them to get the correct conversion for your units. So let's go through it and I'll explain that a bit more. So how many moles are in 5 kilograms of carbon dioxide? Now the thing is, straight away, kilograms. When we're working out moles, or we're using this equation, the units have to be in grams. So the first thing that you can do is you can convert 5 kilograms into grams. And to do that, you are going to times it by 1,000. So you are going to get 5,000 grams in 5 kilograms because there's 1,000 grams in a kilogram. And this, in scientific way, using this method here, would be 5 times 10 to the 3. 10 times 10 is 100, 100 times 10 is 1,000. But you could simply have just put 5,000 in there. If you put 5,000 in there and divide it by 44, you're still going to get 113.6 mole. So it just depends on how you want to do it. Just be aware that you have to have the correct units. Some people work it all out and then divide it at the end, and that's fine as well. So how many moles for the last question in 600 milligrams of paracetamol? Really, really long one there that you have to work out, but you don't because they'll give you it. So you've got 151, you're looking for moles, so you're using mass divided by MR. Now this time we've got 600 times 10 to the minus 3. And again, that is just a reflection of the conversion of units. And again, you can work out the conversion and you can just put that number straight in there. And when you divide it by the MR, you're going to get 3.97 times 10 to the minus 3 moles. Now, example 5 are your grade 7 and 8 questions where it gets a little bit more complicated. You wouldn't necessarily have the MR when you get to this level, but it's the conversion that's important. Now, in science, you get a calculator. So you can tap these straight into a calculator. You just have to remember the conversion and the power of 10 and you'll be fine. So on the next slide is where your questions are. Now, if you were feeling like, oh my God, that's so much information, I don't know if I'll be able to do it, just do task 7. So do this page and do E. So A, B, C, D, E. So you're calculating the number of moles. All these questions are calculating the number of moles. There is a conversion in there, so think about that. And then calculate the mass. On the next slide, you've got something that's for people who are aiming for level 5s and higher. And when you get onto the next part of it, you're actually aiming for the very, very top end. So especially here, so calculate the MR of the unknowns and attempt to identify them by writing the formula that matches the MR. I've put that in there and I've left that in there for anybody who wants to work through it and come up with an answer. They are level 7, 8 questions. So if you are thinking, I really can't do that without being in school, without Mrs. Help, that's fine, just leave them. Everybody has to complete this slide and this slide before they're allowed to say that they've completed this task. Can you email me if you need any help? When you do email me, I want you to have had a go and I want to see an answer. So I've done this first question, miss. I've calculated 50 grams of calcium. Do you know what I mean? Calculate the moles in 50 grams of calcium. I've got the MR. I need to do the equation. I've got this answer. Is it right? That is the only questions I'm going to answer. And if you get it wrong, then I can identify what you've done wrong. It is no good just emailing and saying, Miss, I don't understand. Because then you need to rewatch these videos. You need to go through the examples. You need to watch the video about the power of 10 and about conversions. And you need to use your revision guide and you need to use that white book. And you have to take some ownership for learning this. Because even if I go over it a million times, it's not going to make any difference if you're not practicing them. So have a go. Let me know how you do. I look forward to seeing how you do tomorrow. On Friday, I will do something a little bit easier so that we end the week on a high, because you have done absolutely fantastic up until this point. And I'm sure that most of you will be absolutely fantastic at this as well. It's just going to take a little bit of time for you to think about it and digest it. Hence why there's not actually that much work for you to do. Right, so have a go and I'll see you all, well, I'll see you when I see you, but I'll talk to you again tomorrow via video. Good luck.